In terms of Schedule 1 of the FIC Act, contains, as you probably know, contains a list of all the accountable institutions, all the different sectors that need to be registered with the FIC as accountable institutions. Item 3 of Schedule 1 refers to an estate agent as defined in the Estate Agency Affairs Act. Now, we're very well aware that the Estate Agency Affairs Act we have issued a PCC. You'll find it on our website. It's Public Compliance Communication number 56. And in there, we explain, the fact that currently our item 3 of Schedule 1 only makes provision for the registration of what was previously known as estate agents. In other words, not all the new property practitioners are included as accountable institutions at this point in time. If you have been, or if you fell under the definition of estate agent under the previously Estate Agency Affairs Act, then you would need to register as an accountable institution with the FIC Act, under the FIC Act, if you are not registered as yet. So then we've given a link there to PCC 56, which I would suggest that you go through that PCC. It explains what I've just explained about the replacement of the Estate Agency Affairs Act with the Property Practitioners Act. Okay, so in addition to registering as an estate agent and complying with all the requirements under the FIC Act, if you are a business, you also need to make sure that you monitor transactions, and if you regard a transaction as a suspicious transaction, then a business, and this is applicable to all businesses in South Africa, then that business has an obligation to report a suspicious transaction to the FIC. So to be able to do that, you would also need to register as to register on our GOML registration and reporting platform. But there you would then need to register as a business entity with a reporting obligation, which is a bit different from registering as an estate agent. So if you conduct a business of a property developer or any other business that does not fall within the definition of an estate agent as per the previous Estate Agency Affairs Act, then you would need to register as a business entity with a reporting obligation should you come across a transaction that you regard as being unusual or suspicious and that you would like to report to the FIC. And it's important for us to receive this information because, as you know, the FIC has the duty to analyze transactions, suspicious transactions, cash threshold transactions, and then to share information with our law enforcement agencies. And it forms a very important part of the fight against criminal activities in our country. We have issued guidance note 4B about the reporting of suspicious transaction, suspicious and unusual transactions. And as I said, business entities need to register on the GOML platform to be able to report. Okay, so the FIC Act compliance obligations are summarized in this slide, and we will be talking about these compliance obligations in a bit more detail today. So I'm not going to go through them one by one now, but these are the areas that we will be discussing in our presentation, and this is like just a summary of all the FIC Act obligations. Okay, then registration, which is, you start the FIC Act obligations by registering. Obviously, this forms the foundation of your compliance obligations. If you are registered, then you are able to submit reports. You are able to receive messages from the FIC for more information once you've submitted the report, or just to ask whether a specific person or entity is a client of yours. So it's very important that you register and that you keep your registration details up to date to make sure that we are able to reach you, you know, to share information with you and to request information from you. So registration on GoML takes place in terms of section 43B. That is the section that requires all accountable institutions to register with us. And then also we have issued compliance communication 5D, which explains who must register. Now, in the case of estate agents, it is required that the head office in each of the branches need to register, and that these institutions are regarded as separate accountable institutions, and they must obviously then also report, under their separate org ID numbers. By the way, an org ID number is a number that's been given to you by the FIC once you've successfully registered, and that is the number that you will use in all future correspondence with the FIC. Regulation 27A is the part of the anti-money laundering and terrorist financing regulations. And that regulation explains how you need to register with the FIC. It's an electronic registration, it's a GoML registration platform, and you can go on there and you then register yourself. The registration includes your registration as an entity as well as registration as a user. And as I said earlier, you must just make sure that all the information is up to date at all times. And I've also mentioned that you need to be registered to be able to submit reports on GoML, because you always use your org ID number, your registration number, in other words, in all future correspondence, including when you submit financial intelligence reports. Should you be doing the business of more than one accountable institution, you would need to register more than once on the system. You would have more than one org ID number. So, for example, if you are a legal practitioner or an attorney and you also happen to sell properties and you also registered as an estate agent, then you will need to register as an attorney under item 1 of Schedule 1 of the FIC Act, as well as an estate agent under item 3 of Schedule 1 of the FIC Act. So all the entities that meet the definition of an accountable institution must register separately. Registration is not determined solely by ownership, but by whether each company conducts business activities listed in Schedule 1 of the FIC Act. So have a look at all the activities listed under Schedule 1 of the FIC Act and make sure that you are registered under each item separately if you are conducting business activities that require more than one registration. The FIC does not allow groups or consolidated registration, so subsidiaries, branches, and companies under a group must register individually, and if they fall within the scope, of an accountable institution. You may register what we call a delegation structure with us. If the compliance functions are centralized across companies within a group, a single compliance officer may then oversee multiple companies, and each company must then register separately, but the compliance function may be registered in such a way that there's oversight over all the different institutions within the group. You refer to that as a delegation structure, and you request us for assistance to be able to register that. Okay, how to access GoML. We have the link included in the presentation there. So if you go to that link, the landing page will display the register and login links. On the registration menu, if you are new, you register as an organization. And if you log in, going forward, you log in, or you go to forgot password, because part of the registration is that you will have to create a password and a username for yourself, which then those are then your login credentials that we will use in all future logins when you log on to the system, either to report or to submit changes to your registration detail, or even to register maybe a new entity that you've that you've established. For first-time registrations, the compliance officer must register the institution as well as the compliance officer information. As I said earlier, there you will register the institution and you will also register a user. Part of the registration of a user is to submit the South African ID documentation of the user, as well as an authorization letter from the institution to authorize a specific person to register on behalf of that institution and to act, with the center, submit reports on behalf of that institution. So that is as far as registration is concerned. I will now hand over to Sanaya Zulu, and she will be talking about your risk management and compliance program. As I said, that's the foundation of your compliance, and that is that's very important. It's